This week, something from Hyundai, or as our American viewers would say, Hyundai.
Or as they should say properly, Hyundai
Tucson Highlander
1.6
1.6 all-wheel drive. David, what do you think about the looks?
It's starting to use lighting technology far more than we ever have in the past.
Which we'll show you in a minute, because this car is too clever by half. The daytime running lights don't come on until you release the handbrake. I mean, you know, really. But let's have a quick sticky beak at just the general looks. I think this is striking. All of this is lighting, but none of it is headlighting. The headlights are down here. So you can see all of these lights have come on and they change with an indicator. This little lower bit lights up so bright. But if you think that's good, watch the back. And the side view, I think this looks rather nice. I think they've gone a long way to making it look not quite so boring, because there's only so much you can do with two boxes.
But they get rid of the box here and the box there with these lines that are breaking up the side.
Very striking, and the big strong piece, this is only plastic, but there's a big strong piece along the bottom. And David, I particularly like this line. And it runs along under the mirror. Just because it can. I think that looks absolutely gorgeous.
Very big focus on the wheel guards.
And there's even a little bit of interest here. They didn't need to put that in there, but it's in there just because they can. Wheels, David, what size are these? 19s?
These are 19s. That's part of a package.
And of course, this is an electric tailgate. Wrong place. Nope, nope. So you're going to get schmutz over your hand, David, aren't you? Very spacious back.
And it includes a full-size spare.
Now, I said that there's plenty of space in the back of this car and that you don't need that lower section. David, what did you say?
Well, it depends if you have a family or not.
He said, clearly you're not a family man. Well, not unless there's something about me I don't know. There's no lock button up here, so you still have to schlep around the front to use the fancy locking system that gives you push button entry and push button start. David, let's have a look inside.
Oh, look at the room.
Wow, and you didn't have to duck to get in either. That's just extraordinary. You're sitting fairly upright. The seat's comfortable.
I've got room, even though there is this skyline here. I can see.
You need sunroof?
Yeah. I can see quite clearly, well, relatively, this is still in the way, yet I feel, as you said, I feel like I'm sitting up, my feet fit underneath, I have the little mat thing there, I'm impressed. And I have power up, which is just a normal USB, I have my usual vents, and of course I can control the front seat from here.
And that's so that if there's someone in the back with long legs and no one in the front, I wonder if that works with someone in the front seat. Let's try that. Look how much space is in the front, David.
And this is with the seat back for me, and there was still all that room in the back.
Yeah, the seats are powered. But look at this. The design that's gone into this door, this beautiful big curve, all the way along the door, all the way along the dash, encapsulating each front passenger.
Alan, you're also suggesting that it doesn't have something that sticks out here, that like the usual screen, that it's part of the design.
You get the start-up screen on both twin 10.25-inch screens. Now that's standard in a lot of new Hyundais, but what it gives you is a really easy, fast-responding infotainment system that still has some physical, or should I say fixed buttons along the bottom, though they are touch.
I love it though. I love having this as a reinforcement.
Yeah, and easily accessible climate control buttons with proper temperature control down the side and things that you can easily get at. So everything you need is here without having to make this system overly complex by having it all in the infotainment system. All 4 windows have automatic function, which I really like. Makes it so easy to use this on a trip. You don't need that kind of global button. You can see down here that I put my right indicator on and a view's come up down the right-hand side of the car. Now this is the middle of the engine range. It's not the lowest model, it's not the diesel which has the most torque. But I also think it's the sweet spot. And unlike some of the other cars, if you put this into Sport or Sport Plus, it remembers that setting, David.
So you don't have to do it every time you get in the car.
Indeed you don't. However, the other day I had forgotten that I'd put it into Sport Plus and wondered why it was so jerky around town, because it was wanting to get going, thank you very much. Just come over my side of the road, that's all right.
132 kilowatts and 265 newton meters of torque.
That's enough to be going on with.
The diesel has a similar, about 137 kilowatts, but a massive 416 newton meters of torque.
God, 416. That's of course as a result of turbos. I mean, back in the old days, remember some of those turbos that we've driven, some of those diesels that we've driven that didn't have turbos.
And they're also very slow to get going.
And you had to wait for the glow plugs. Remember to warm up the, do you remember that?
And turning them off, you had to be careful of.
Yeah, because they could diesel, as it were. Now here we are at 100 kilometers an hour, David. Isn't that fantastic?
On our ridgy road, I can hardly even hear those.
Oh, it's just wonderful. Now, could you imagine doing a long tour? I mean, it's no powerhouse, we've just demonstrated that, and that was in the most powerful, sporty setting Tucson has. But I don't think I care. I'd just drive it leisurely. I've got automated steering to keep me centered in the lane. I've got lane control, so lane departure control. I've got the fancy things up here on my dash, but I've also got the autonomous emergency braking things, David. The features that will give me such things as braking at intersections, but you have to meet very specific criteria before that will work.
This has a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. The diesel has an 8-speed automatic, but the base model 2-litre non-turbo has a 6-speed automatic. It is the carryover that allows it to be, I think, an entry-level price.
I don't think I'd pick that one, David, and it doesn't. It's got what, 116 kilowatts or something. 115
kilowatts and 192 newton meters of torque.
I mean, if this with 36 and
132 and 265 newton meters.
If that felt so leisurely on that takeoff on the highway, what the hell would the 2-litre be like? Of course, that's not a turbo.
No.
I've got my seat cooling on, so the temperature is just so. The climate concierge will also turn on the steering wheel heating if it is very cold.
Sitting in a hot car is a perennial summer problem in Australia.
And I don't think that's what our overseas viewers appreciate. Our English viewers, they faint and fade if the temperatures get into the 30s. Imagine what they'd be like if it was near 50.
You can have a steering wheel that's too hot to handle.
Absolutely right, David, you can get too hot to handle. So I'm told. And what I like, David, is that there's beautiful mixtures of textures that for a change don't look like they're fighting for supremacy. This cabin, once you're on the move, is so blissfully restful. The other thing I've noticed is have a look down at your instruments. Now that's in the sun, and yet you can see everything.
The blind spot camera is as clear as a bell.
Well, but what I mean is that like normally a sun would wash out a screen, but they made a point of saying that it doesn't have a cowling over the top, and it doesn't appear to need it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, David, in summary, I think Hyundai have done an absolutely first-class job. This feels Look, I'm going to call it, this feels quite premium.
I'm very impressed with the way it went along the motorway, which had a lot of joins in the surface.
Glided. Fuel consumption, to be honest with you, considering this is a 1.6 turbo, we're sitting at 11.2 at the moment, which I wouldn't think is particularly brilliant. I mean, nor is it bad, because this is a big car, but, you know, nonetheless, I'd have hoped for better. It's come time, though, where you must hit like.
Leave a comment.
But above all, I think just over here, and I'll paste over it some lovely rural footage
You don't mind me
to
pointing.
subscribe.